The U.S. job market looks stable at first glance. The unemployment rate still sits near 4%, a level traditionally associated with economic health and steady hiring. Yet behind that number, millions of workers are experiencing something very different. Job searches are stretching longer, applications go unanswered, and full-time roles are giving way to part-time or contract work. For many people, the gap between what the headlines show and what daily life feels like has never been wider.
The U.S. economy has lost 1.2 million jobs since April 2024, and Americans are feeling the economic downturn. The quits rate, a measure of how often workers voluntarily leave their jobs, is now down to about 2% after fluctuating in the years since the pandemic. And employers are hiring at the slowest pace since 2013, excluding the pandemic dip and rise.
This contradiction isn't the result of a sudden collapse. It's the outcome of quieter shifts happening beneath the surface. Slower hiring, tighter requirements, and structural changes in how companies build and maintain their workforce. And together, these forces are creating a labor market that appears strong, while confidence among workers continues to erode. But the real story begins with what the headline numbers don't show. On the surface, the broader economy continues to send signals of momentum. Corporate earnings remain solid, markets have climbed steadily, and many major companies report financial results that suggest stability rather than slowdown. These indicators create the impression of a labor market that should be expanding in step with the rest of the economy. But the hiring data tells a different story. Job openings have been slipping from their post-pandemic highs, and companies that once competed aggressively for talent are now taking longer to fill roles or quietly reducing their headcounts. Even firms posting strong profits are restructuring teams or trimming staff to streamline operations. The disconnect is subtle but consistent. Economic growth is persisting, while opportunities for workers are not rising at the same pace.
Obviously, something really whack is happening with the job market right now, and as somebody who follows the job market for a living, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. So we always talk about how blue-collar manufacturing jobs were offshore to other countries. Now, something that a lot of people don't know is that while manufacturing jobs in the US have decreased, manufacturing output has largely stayed the same. And that is due to automation. Factory technology has improved so much that these companies can produce the same amount of goods with less people. Now, I believe that right now the same thing is happening, but not to blue-collar workers, but to white-collar workers.
This pattern becomes clearer once we examine how the labor market is shifting below the headline numbers. Beneath the optimistic headlines, the pace of hiring has begun to cool. Monthly job gains are still positive, but they've slowed to levels that signal caution rather than expansion. In several industries, growth has flattened entirely. Tech, finance, manufacturing, and even parts of healthcare have seen fewer new postings than in previous years. And roles that once filled quickly now sit open for weeks or months. Workers feel this shift before the data fully reflects it. Applicants report longer search periods, more automated rejections, and hiring processes that stretch across multiple rounds without leading to an offer. Employers aren't announcing sweeping freezes, but they're moving more deliberately, reassessing roles, delaying decisions, and narrowing the criteria for who gets interviewed. This isn't the dramatic downturn people imagine when they hear the word recession. It's a slow tightening, a gradual pullback that makes the job market feel heavier, even when the numbers don't yet show a collapse. And the people feeling this pressure most directly are those trying to enter the workforce for the first time.
I've applied for maybe 400 or 500 plus jobs.
Divyan Varnakumaran is graduating this month with a degree in electrical engineering. He's already applied for hundreds of jobs, but so far, no luck.
For something that you only need like 0 to 1 years of experience, they're like, oh, we found a couple more people that were more experienced. How does that make sense?
It might not make him feel any better, but he does have plenty of company. The unemployment rate for university, college, and trades grads who are under 25 is just over 11%. If we don't count the pandemic, that's the highest it's been since the late 90s.
The slowdown hits hardest at the point where careers are supposed to begin. Over the past few years, the number of true entry-level roles has quietly declined, and the positions that remain often no longer function as starting points. Many companies now expect new hires to arrive already experienced, already trained, and already capable of taking on responsibilities that would have been learned on the job in the past. One data point captures this shift clearly. Over 60% of entry-level postings now list 2 to 3 years of prior experience as a requirement. What used to be a launchpad has turned into a filter, cutting off the very people the roles were designed for. This creates the experience paradox: graduates leaving school with debt, credentials, and internships, yet finding themselves disqualified from positions meant to begin a career. And when fewer people can enter at the bottom, the entire talent pipeline begins to narrow. Companies struggle to build internal mobility, mid-level positions face shortages, and senior roles depend on a foundation that is no longer stable. The pressure at this early stage becomes even more pronounced once another accelerating force enters the equation.
Well-known and respected tech CEO Dario Amodei, who heads a cutting-edge AI company called Anthropic, is raising alarms tonight about AI's potential impact on employment that could soon be felt. While he says AI can lead to incredible advancements like medical breakthroughs and boost the economy, he believes it could also lead to half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years.
Automation isn't replacing entire professions overnight, but it is reshaping the tasks that make those jobs possible. Many of the responsibilities that used to justify entry-level roles, collecting data, drafting reports, preparing research, handling routine administrative work, are now handled more efficiently by software. Companies aren't necessarily laying people off to introduce automation. They're hiring fewer people because automated tools already cover much of the foundational workload. A single statistic illustrates how quickly this shift is moving. AI-related automation could replace up to 30% of the tasks performed in U.S. jobs by 2030, according to industry research. It doesn't mean every job disappears. It means the structure of those jobs changes, often in ways that reduce the need for large junior teams. The result is subtle but significant. Organizations can maintain output with fewer new workers, especially in roles that once acted as training grounds for future talent. And as these entry pathways narrow, workers without specialized skills find themselves competing for a shrinking number of traditional positions. But automation alone doesn't explain why these changes feel so widespread. The deeper issue is how the new skill requirements collide with the workforce's existing experience. Even as some roles disappear or become harder to access, new opportunities are emerging in fields that demand different skills than the ones many workers currently have. Technology, data, advanced manufacturing, and healthcare support are expanding, but the requirements for these jobs have grown more specialized. Workers displaced from shrinking roles can't easily transition into these new ones without retraining, and that transition often takes time, money, or resources they don't have. One statistic highlights how widespread this gap has become. Nearly 60% of workers are expected to need some form of reskilling or upskilling by the end of the decade. Yet access to that training remains uneven, and many programs fail to bridge the gap between what employers need and what workers can realistically learn while balancing financial pressures. This mismatch creates a growing divide. Job openings exist, but they cluster in areas that demand targeted expertise. Meanwhile, workers without those credentials get pushed toward part-time roles, gig work, or lower-paying positions unrelated to their original career path. It's not simply a matter of jobs disappearing, it's a realignment of opportunity that leaves many people standing on the wrong side of the divide. And this widening gap sets the stage for the most significant shift happening across the workforce today. As companies adapt to shifting conditions, a new pattern has begun to emerge, one where businesses continue to grow even as their need for additional workers slows. Profit margins remain strong, productivity has improved, and many organizations have learned to operate with leaner teams. The overall economy expands, but the traditional connection between business performance and workforce growth is weakening. A single indicator reflects this shift. Productivity in 2025 rose at one of the fastest rates seen in over a decade, even as hiring slowed. Companies are doing more with the same number of employees or fewer by relying on automation, restructuring, and efficiency-focused strategies. This is what economists describe as a jobless boom. An environment where economic output increases, but opportunities for workers fail to grow alongside it. The result is a tighter, more selective job market, one that places heavier emphasis on specialized skills while offering fewer stepping stones for everyone else. And as these forces combine, they reshape not just the present job landscape, but what a long-term career trajectory looks like for an entire generation. The implications of this shift become clearer when we step back and consider what all these trends add up to. Taken together, these trends reveal a labor market in transition, one that looks stable on the surface but is fundamentally reshaping itself underneath. The slowdown in hiring, the disappearance of entry-level pathways, the rise of automation, and the widening skills gap all point to the same outcome: a workforce facing more obstacles at the very moment the economy appears to be moving forward. For workers, this means navigating a job market that rewards adaptability, targeted skills, and continuous learning more than ever before. And for the broader economy, it raises questions about long-term stability, mobility, and what opportunities will look like for the next generation. The job market isn't weakening because the economy is faltering. It's weakening because the structure of work itself is changing. And as that transformation continues, the challenge will be less about finding any job and more about finding a place in a system that is still being rebuilt in real time.